rain poured against the diner windows like 1,000 tiny tears that refused to stop falling. Inside, the dim yellow lights reflected off chrome tables and half-empty ketchup bottles. It was the kind of place where no one stayed long, where loneliness clung to every seat like a silent ghost. And in that corner booth, near the window streaked with rain, sat a man who had forgotten what warmth felt like. Daniel Turner, 38, had been coming to this diner for 3 months, every night at exactly 7. He'd order the same thing: black coffee, scrambled eggs, and toast. He didn't eat because he was hungry. He ate because it was the only thing that still felt like routine, something that kept him from completely falling apart. His wedding ring was gone, his apartment was half empty, and his heart, well, that was buried somewhere under the rubble of loss he didn't know how to escape from. His wife, Claire, had passed away in a car accident last winter, and since that night, Daniel's world had dimmed to gray. He'd stopped believing in fate, in kindness, even in people. Every smile felt rehearsed, every kindness temporary. He sat in silence, listening to the clinking plates, the distant hum of an old jukebox, and the sound of rain that reminded him too much of the night everything ended. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected connections, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep spreading stories that touch hearts. That night was no different until it was. The door to the diner swung open, letting in a sharp gust of cold air and the sound of heavy rain. A young woman stumbled in, soaked to the bone, holding a small boy in her arms. The child, maybe 6 or 7 years old, had a thin frame and tired eyes that spoke of too many nights without comfort. The mother's hair was wet, sticking to her cheeks, and her coat was torn at the sleeve. She looked around, desperate, like someone trying to find a small island in a storm. Daniel looked up briefly, uninterested, until he saw the boy. The kid clung to his mother's neck, whispering something, his lips pale. They walked to the counter, and the woman spoke softly to the waitress. Daniel didn't mean to overhear, but the diner was quiet enough that her trembling voice carried through the air. "Please, can I get just a bowl of soup for my son? I'll pay you tomorrow. We've been walking for hours." The waitress, a woman who had seen all kinds of stories in this diner, frowned apologetically. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I can't give food on credit. It's policy." The mother's face fell. She looked at her son, who now buried his face in her shoulder, shivering. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "We'll find something later." Something shifted inside Daniel at that moment. Maybe it was the way the boy looked, so fragile and quiet. Maybe it was the tone of the woman's voice, full of exhaustion but holding on to dignity. Or maybe it was the ghost of his late wife whispering somewhere in his conscience, reminding him who he used to be. Without thinking, he stood up. His chair scraped the floor, making everyone glance at him. He walked to the counter, pulled out his wallet, and said simply, "Add whatever they want to my bill." The woman turned to him, startled. "No, please, you don't have to." He met her eyes for the first time. They were tired, but not defeated. "It's fine," he said, "and sit down." "He's hungry." Her lips trembled as she nodded, and the waitress gestured to a nearby booth. The woman hesitated for a moment before quietly asking, "Would it be okay if we sit with you? My son doesn't like being alone." Daniel blinked, taken aback. He had spent months avoiding company, building walls no one could climb. Yet here she was, polite, sincere, and cold from the rain, asking to share his table. He hesitated, but the small boy's eyes looked up at him, wide and full of innocence. "Sure," Daniel said quietly. "Have a seat." They sat down across from him. The woman wrapped her arms around her son, trying to warm him. "Thank you," she murmured. "I'm Emily. And this is Noah." Daniel nodded, still unsure what to say. He wasn't used to talking anymore. But when the food came, 2 bowls of soup and warm bread, he found himself watching them. The way Noah's small hands held the spoon carefully, the joy in his eyes when he tasted something hot, the relief in Emily's smile. It was a scene Daniel didn't realize he'd missed so much. For the first time in months, he felt something stir inside him. Not just pity, but life. Emily explained between quiet sips that she and her son had been evicted from their apartment after she lost her job. They'd been staying at a shelter, but it was overcrowded. Tonight, she had nowhere else to go. She wasn't asking for help, just a moment to rest and feed her child. Daniel listened, really listened. Her voice carried the kind of strength that comes from surviving when everything's been stripped away. And when she laughed softly at something her son said, Daniel realized how long it had been since he'd heard laughter that wasn't forced. Hours passed like minutes. The rain outside slowed and the diner grew quiet. Noah, full and warm, fell asleep with his head in his mother's lap. Emily's eyes softened as she looked at him. "He's all I have," she whispered, "and every day I'm scared I'll fail him." Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered saying almost the same words to his wife before their daughter was born, before the accident that took both of them. For a moment, the pain returned like a wave, but instead of drowning in it, he looked at Emily and said gently, "You're not failing him. You're here. You're fighting. That's what matters." Emily looked at him, her eyes glistening. "You sound like someone who's lost a lot too." He gave a small, sad smile. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I guess I have." When they finally stood to leave, Emily reached into her pocket and tried to hand him a crumpled $5 bill. "It's not much," she said, "but I'll pay you back the rest soon." Daniel shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Just take care of him." She hesitated, then reached out and squeezed his hand. "You have no idea how much this means." "Thank you." He nodded, but after they left, he sat for a long time, staring at the empty seats across from him. The diner felt different now, warmer somehow. He didn't expect to see them again, but fate had other plans. The next morning, as Daniel left for work, he saw Emily and Noah sitting outside a small library across the street. She was reading to him from an old children's book. He stopped. Something told him not to just walk away, so he crossed the street. "Hey," he said softly. "You two doing okay?" Emily looked up, surprised, then smiled faintly. "We're fine. We just needed somewhere dry to wait." Daniel hesitated before asking, "Have you found somewhere to stay?" She shook her head. "Not yet." The shelter said maybe next week. He thought for a long moment. Then, without planning to, he said, "I've got a spare room. It's not much, but it's warm. You can stay until you find something." Emily's eyes widened. "We couldn't possibly." "It's fine," Daniel said. "No strings. Just a safe place." She looked at him for a long moment before nodding, tears welling up. "Thank you." Over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. Daniel's house, once silent and cold, began to fill with life again. Noah's laughter echoed through the halls. Emily cooked breakfast every morning, insisting it was her way of saying thank you. And slowly, piece by piece, Daniel began to feel like himself again. He told her about Claire, how he'd lost her, how he'd stopped living after she was gone. Emily listened, her eyes full of empathy. She told him about her struggles, her dreams of becoming a nurse, and how she'd been too scared to hope anymore. Together, they found healing in small moments: the smell of pancakes, the sound of a child's laughter, the quiet comfort of shared loss. Months later, one evening, Daniel came home to find Noah sitting at the dining table, drawing with crayons. The picture showed 3 people holding hands under a bright sun. "That's you, me, and Mommy," Noah said proudly. "We're a family now." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at Emily, who stood by the stove, smiling shyly. Something inside him, something long buried, came alive again. That night, as they all sat together eating dinner, Daniel realized that sometimes the people meant to heal us arrive when we least expect them. On a rainy night in a quiet diner, when all we wanted was to eat alone. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us continue creating stories that remind the world that kindness still exists. Special request: tell us in the comments below, what's the kindest thing a stranger has ever done for you? Your story might inspire someone today, because sometimes a single act of compassion doesn't just feed the hungry, it saves a soul that had forgotten how to live.